Hey, for the sake of this meeting, folks, this is Jesse. I'm in the same room as Mary Jo, Joyce, Garrett, and Charlotte. So we're all sharing one microphone right now. It's a center room mic. So you'll see my lovely face and mask, but not their screen.
Thanks for that. And I'm in another room because the sound, we're all in the office today, which is nice. So I'm going to kick us off and say thanks for coming today. And I'm going to share my screen. I almost hit leave, but thank goodness I didn't. There we go. Can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay, shaking of the head is a good thing. So thanks for being here once again. And we're going to start off by talking about a sequence of work-based learning. And first off, I'm going to introduce myself as Terry Falkenstern, transition specialist. I have Central Oregon and then Northeastern sites in Northeastern Oregon. And the rest of the team is also here. Most of us are here at the university. Sally and Michelle are at home. And if they just want to say welcome, that'd be nice. Okay, so thanks.
Hello, welcome.
They're not going to say anything.
Thank you and welcome. Glad to see all of you here today. Talking over the mute button, never fun.
Michelle may have a lawnmower going in her background, so there's that. But also, folks, I just wanted to let you know this meeting will be recorded and we will pop it up on our YouTube channel here in a few days or in a week or so when we can. But for the purpose of this meeting, we are recording.
Okay, thank you. So our agenda today is to understand the sequence of work-based learning that lead to competitive integrated employment and to identify how our local team is purposeful in planning students' experiences to increase the likelihood that they achieve competitive integrated employment upon exit from YTP, and to identify the sequence of work-based learning opportunities in your YTP site, right? It says in our site, but each of us has a site, and what is the sequence in your site? So sequence, I love looking up words in the dictionary. I don't know if anyone else does going to thesaurus, but a sequence is a particular order in which related events, movements, or things follow each other. And we also arrange things in a particular order, right? That's sequence. And this I especially like because I think this is somebody snowboarding, but I looked at it and I saw, oh, these are the kids we work with, and each of them is in a different place in their sequence of learning, right? I mean, we're working with a variety of kids with a variety of skills and abilities, and they all are not at the end ready for competitive employment. They may be at the beginning and not even in the picture yet. And so our job is to work with each of these individuals to get them to a place of competitive integrated employment. So work-based learning. Today, I'm gonna give us 1,000-foot view or a big overall outline of what it is and knowing that it is the path to competitive integrated employment. And Joyce talked last community of practice about competitive integrated employment and defined it for us. And so as defined by WIOA, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, competitive integrated employment, someone is compensated at or above minimum wage and comparable to the customary rate paid by the employer to employees without disabilities performing similar duties and with similar training and experience. Also, Someone who has competitive integrated employment is receiving the same level of benefits provided to other employees without disabilities in similar positions. And still going on with this definition, at a location where employee interacts with other individuals without disabilities, and the individual is presented opportunities for advancement similar to other employees without disabilities in a similar position. So that's defined by the WIOA, what competitive integrated employment is. And that is the goal of YTP, to help students get to that competitive integrated employment. And so how do we get there with students? What do? We work with them, and we have a sequence of work-based learning. So we're enhancing what's already being done in the school. And in that sequence, we have classroom activities, what's going on in the classrooms that those students participate in, and how do you work with those students in their classes? What are some of the school activities that your students participate in? And then there are community activities with support, and community activities where the student is working independently. Maybe it's set up with help of a transition specialist, but that student is more independent. So that's what we defined as our sequence of work-based learning. And I think it's always, we have to go back to the student. We're talking about what's going on in the school, but what is the student? What are their interests, strengths, abilities, and preferences? And getting to know the student. Are they involved in their interests in school? What are their hobbies? What do they do when they're not in school? What's their family's involvement and influence in their life? Do they need more experience? Mostly yes, right? I mean, very few people don't need more experience. And are they motivated? And it was interesting. I said, well, maybe I should put the motivated first. But where does motivation, each individual is different. And so the motivation, you may start with a motivated student, or maybe your student gets more motivated by learning more about themselves and gaining more experience and learning what they like. So motivation can happen anywhere in this process, right? We need a motivated student, but when they get motivated, are they motivated to start? That's a good question. And what if the family's motivated and the student's not? That's a whole nother issue, right? So the sequence of work-based learning will help a student get to a place where they're motivated, because without their oomph to go forward, you're not going to have a successful outcome, right? So again, the sequence of work-based learning, it happens in the classroom, it happens in the school, the community, So we've defined what competitive integrated employment is. How do we get to competitive integrated employment? We have a sequence, we have activities that we do with students. We work in schools, we have this great place to help students get to where they want to go. And each student has a different path based on their interest, experience, and abilities, right? And so this is a visual, and I think visuals help us sometimes. We have a YTP program, and we have the classes that our students participate in, the school, the community, they're independent, and then we get to competitive integrated employment. So where are you, or where is your student in the sequence? And how do you plan? So do you go forward and start with these students here in the classroom? Do you meet students and do backwards planning? How do you get to this competitive integrated employment in your YTP program? So the question for you is, how do you get here? What do you do to get to competitive integrated employment with students? So this is a poll that Garrett's going to put up. So backward planning, forward planning, or shoot from the hip? That's my question. So take a minute to answer this. How does your team plan? Do you do a lot of backwards planning, forwards planning, flexible, a day at a time, all of the above? Okay, 38. Okay. 43 of 53. Okay, that's pretty good because the management team are all in one room. That's 6. So we got almost everybody. So how does your team plan? Backward planning, 2%. Yeah. Forward planning, 7%. Flexible, depends on the student, 37%. A day at a time, 2%. And all of the above. That's great. I think, share results. Oh, you guys didn't see that. Can you see it now? Okay, sorry, I was reading it and you didn't get to see. So I love this because when I'm going to talk a little bit about backwards planning, but I learned about backwards planning in this job. I never did it with students, but I think it's a great technique and part of what okay, can you still see the poll? Okay, sorry. I couldn't tell if it was on or off. Anyway, so backwards planning. So again, how does your YTP team assist students with reaching their goal, getting to CTE? So it was really for you to think about backwards planning. Do you take referrals from staff? Every YTP program has a system, a sequence, a way of getting to competitive integrated employment. And our goal is for you to recognize how you get there and for you to take the time to define where you are at in the sequence with students, and also to decide what to look at it and to maybe analyze how you're doing at it and what you want to do and how you want to do it differently if you want to, or if you're really good at it and just want to get better, right? So there are some sites that take referrals from staff more than being in the school. Do you work in the classroom with your teachers? Are your students accessing CTE or career centers, sports, and other opportunities in your school, right? So those are questions to ask yourself. And again, talking about backwards planning, I learned about backwards planning in this job here, and I love Mary Jo's really good at teaching backwards planning, and I know she's done it with some students. I personally have never used backwards planning. How many, raise your hand if you're in the audience and you do backwards planning or are familiar with it or feel like you're good at it? Oh, one. Patty Bates.
I don't know how to raise my hand, but I do it.
You do it? Okay, we got 2. Okay. So 3. Okay, Angela, you raised your hand. How do you use backwards planning?
I think similar to the graphic that we're looking at right now is just kind of thinking about what is the overall goal and kind of mapping out all the steps in that, from that goal all the way to the current moment, and to see, and that kind of actually helps to figure out like, what are the steps? Sometimes, you don't know how to get to that goal. And so, that can be a very useful conversation with a young person to say, these are the steps. And so kind of looking at it in that backwards way helps just kind of clarify.
That's great. How did you learn how to do backwards planning with the student? Is it something that came naturally to you, or what made you use this? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I think I've sort of picked it up along the way from lots of different kinds of training
Mhm,
that I've had professionally.
mhm,
So I don't think I've taken like a specific like workshop
mhm,
about backwards planning. It was just kind of something I picked up and then probably added my own instincts
mhm.
to that.
Okay, thank you. Forward planning. I think that's the most, for me, intuitive way to plan, to look at what you want to, where you want to get, and to go forward for that. How about people in the audience? Raise your hand if that's your thing, forward planning with students. So nobody? That's interesting. We all do what I call flexible planning, or they call it shooting from the hip. It could be poor planning, flexible planning, right? Or, and I think that's what the poll showed. Most of us look at each individual student as they come in and decide what a plan could be for them. So, okay, sorry. Okay, so what I have three people, three different school sizes here. And I asked three different people to share a little bit about their system in their school. And so before these folks talk, we have South Eugene High School, Joshua Gramley, Portland Public Schools, Kia Swan, and Umatilla High School, Chelsea, was going to share about what she does and how her YTP program works at Umatilla High School. And she has an IEP and asked if she could go first. Chelsea, are you here?
Yes. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Good. So go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay. So as Terry said, I'm from Umatilla High School. This is my 6th year in this position. And so I'm just still kind of learning along the way. And when we talked about shooting things from the hip, that is kind of how we do it here, because we have such a diverse group of students with such different backgrounds that we kind of have to do it that way. But Umatilla has been fortunate enough that we did get the RFA grant, the summer work grant, when it first came out. And so we have done 4 of those. We completed 3 summer work programs and 1 winter work program. During that, between those 4 programs, we have serviced 49 students. Of those 49 students, we had them spread out within our community in 22 different community partnerships. Umatilla is a very rural area. Our population is just over 6,000, but we have a lot of ma and pa businesses here that have just taken a love to this program and to our students. And so with having the YTP at the high school and then having the summer work, which is competitive integrated employment in the community, and building those partnerships in that community, has allowed our students to get themselves out there, get seen. We have businesses who will call me and say, hey, we have a position open where maybe one of your students, or you may have a student that might be interested or qualified. We're able to use those partnerships for job shadows. If somebody needs to do like a work study, if they need to have, we have kids in our transitions class who just want to do some job shadows. And so having all of these community partnerships through that RFA has just really built this community that works so well together. And so if you don't have that grant, I know it's coming open again, definitely get your hands on that because it will help you build your team. It definitely helps us get people interested in Voc Rehab because it kind of gives them a snippet of what Voc Rehab can do for them and what kind of services that could provide for them. We do have a job coach that we send with those kids. So if they need a job coach, we have that. At high school, before they become a part of that summer work program, we do kind of have a tiered program where we try to get the students some skills at school. We start them out really, at the base, and then we work them up. And then our hopes is by the end of the school year, we have an idea of what their interests and likes are, what they're good at, maybe what they struggle with, what they need more help with. And then we place them in those 22 partnerships within our community. I said that really fast, but you told me I had 3 minutes. Did I get it all?
No, are there classes at the school for the student, or do you have a transition class too? I was thinking you did.
So this year at the high school, we have 17 junior and senior age students in our transitions class. And then we have 7 students in our life skills high school class that all receive transitions every single day. And we work on everything from customer service skills to budgeting and learning how to count money back and learning the values of money. If it matches their scope and sequence and like their goals, we have them help out in the library learning how to organize or alphabetize books. If we have people who are interested in janitorial services, we do have a facility here that we can use to help teach them and guide them some of those services. We don't have anybody that follows like our janitors regularly, but if we have a student that's their ultimate goal, then we would be happy to place them with them just a couple hours, up to 4 hours, just as a work study experience with them. And then in the summer, if that's still their goal, we could place them in the community doing those things.
Okay. Well, you said there's a sound coming. You said you shoot from the hip, but there's a lot of planning that you have a great sequence, I would say.
There is, but we all know, like working with our students, we have some students who we just have to kind of meet them where they're at because they don't even know maybe where they're at. Some days I have kids who I'm like, oh, wow, they are doing an amazing job, but I'll go work with them the next week. And it's like, they don't even really remember or recall any of the stuff we did. So we have to, step back and redo it. And just a lot of reminders, refreshers, and doing things over and over. So, so yeah, there is a lot of planning too, but.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Yes,
Chelsea.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So, good job. So we also have, I'm going to ask Joshua Gramley. And so I chose these 3 different programs. Number 1, because we have a small, a middle, and a large, and also just people doing different things and just hearing what different schools are doing. And Joshua, I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us about South Eugene and what you do. Thanks.
Sure, thanks. All right, so yeah, I'm Joshua Gramley, transition specialist at South Eugene High School. And South is, I guess, the middle-sized school in this bunch. We have about 1,500 students. Eugene's about, 160,000 people. So as far as our sequence at South, kind of starting with like Terry, your flow chart, right, with classes. a lot of the students with whom I work will come through the coffee shop that I run here. It's a student-based or school-based student-run business. And we're open kind of all morning. We have 4 periods of the day that we have students, both general ed and students who have IEPs or 504s, all working together to get work experience in that context. They get school credit for it, so it's a class. It's a great environment for kind of short and long-term work skills mentorship. So depending on what a student needs to become successful, kind of square one, it's a place for me and the student to see what they need to be successful, kind of where they're at in their skills, what they need to work on. And then also it's a place to kind of practice those skills in a safe environment, right? Where a student can, just to think back to a situation in the past week, I sat down with a student to have a conversation about like, hey, I've noticed you've been late the last couple of days, right? And so we talked about sort of how do we troubleshoot that, right? Like what can we try to help you get here on time, since that's such an important workplace skill, right? So also that experience, is obviously something to put on a resume, opportunity to get a work reference, right? And that can help a student become more competitive once they're ready to look for integrated employment. As I mentioned, it's already an integrated context and already competitive in the sense that, students who are working in the shop, especially students who come back and do another term, usually I'll give them some more like next level management type tasks, such as doing inventory, ordering milk, counting down the money. So really kind of a way to customize to and help students build skills relevant to what they want to do in the future. And then finally, it's also a really good shared point of reference for conversations about strengths and needs, accommodations, things of that nature. So students who have done the coffee shop with me, then later, if I'm signing them up for YTP and voc rehab, we can talk about like, hey, remember in the coffee shop, right? Like, we could talk about what accommodations would have been helpful or were helpful, what things they did well, what areas they might continue to need to build skills in, et cetera, right? So that's the coffee shop. That's kind of a whole big part of our program. CTE classes fulfill kind of some of the same functions for students, just in terms of kind of giving them a place to practice skills and learn about themselves, right? In addition to all of that, we also do transitions classes here, both for juniors and seniors, and these kind of help fill in the picture a bit. It's an opportunity for us to do some career exploration with students, do some of that like forwards and backwards planning with them in terms of kind of what they want to do next and how they get there, right? Junior year, we're kind of teaching about like, hey, how do you find a job, right? How do you go to college? Kind of just the nuts and bolts of how these things work. But then senior year, we're really kind of saying, okay, let's make a plan. Let's help you get through the steps. Let's help you get there so that, next fall, you're actually where you want to be, right? So after all of that class stuff, there's also kind of helping students integrate and access the community, right? Some different ways we do that include, there's a great local organization called Connected Lane County. They offer things like job shadows, internships, et cetera. So once a student is kind of feeling more confident, more able to independently access things, a lot of times we're helping them connect with that program and actually like get some experience out in the community in still what's kind of a supported environment. We also do things over the summer. We've had the RFA before as well, the summer work grant, which was incredible. I totally second Chelsea on applying for that. That's supported by our team. So that's a really good opportunity for students to get some work experience in the community, again, with some mentorship and support. And then also, we have great relationships with some local volunteer organizations. So some students who maybe aren't necessarily ready for paid employment, don't feel ready for the kind of intensity or responsibility of that, but just want something to do during the summer. Sometimes helping them connect with a volunteer opportunity can be really successful too. And of course, like in those cases, when I help a student access something like that, I'm staying in touch with the person who's managing that experience just to help support or troubleshoot if necessary and gather information on kind of how the student's doing, what's working for them, etc. Once the student's more, once they get to a point where they're ready to get a job, sort of, there are a couple of paths they could take, right? One is actually like doing a school job. We have a number of jobs here in the school, including like doing custodial work, working in the cafeteria. Again, this isn't like out in the community yet. This is still sort of practicing, but it's much more independent and it's paid. Or, then there's just the option of helping them, like when they're ready, to find a competitive integrated job in the community. So, that most likely is going to involve, the core YTP voc rehab experience. Sometimes if a student still needs some more support, if they get to the point where they're getting towards, the end of senior year and they're just not yet feeling confident or kind of ready to look for a job, some kind of next steps beyond high school include our Connections 18 to 21-year-old program, which offers, again, some more really good mentored work experience. Connected Lane County also does a version of the WIOA youth program, and that can be a great kind of further skill building experience too. These are kind of outside the high school, a little more integrated into the community. It's still kind of a intermediate step between the kind of where we start and where the goal is. So sorry, that was kind of a lot, but that's kind of an overview of how we do it.
Wow, Joshua, good job. How long have you been at this job?
Oh boy, I think it's been 6 years now.
Yeah, so wow, you've come a long way, baby. I remember when you started and just all those resources and yeah. So what's the learning curve for this job, would you say?
Oh my goodness. I think the first year or two were still pretty difficult for me. It's an interesting job because, some things you get to practice every day and other things you only get to practice once every couple of months or half a year. So it just takes a really long time. I think it wasn't until year 3 that I really started to feel kind of confident and like I was getting into a groove. And then from there, it got much easier over, the following years.
Thank you for that, because we do have a lot of new people and I listen to you, you have this whole, wow, YTP program going on. That it sounds great. So thanks.
Yeah, hang in there, new folks. And if you ever, want to trade notes on anything or whatever, feel welcome to reach out to me or other people. I'm sure we're always happy to help.
Thank you. All righty. And next up, we have Kia from Portland Public Schools, who is going to share about how Portland does it.
Like my name, Terry.
Did I get you wrong?
That's okay. Yes, it's Swain. SWAIN.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's Swain, not Swain.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome, honey.
Well, I had to do a big misspelling somewhere, okay? And sorry it was.
Well, 2 of my colleagues couldn't be here today, which is Tamron Arnold and Emily Newton. They are both busy at this time, but I think what I'll just start off by saying is that we all kind of do different things. We are 3 YTP specialists that support 6 of the 9 comprehensive high schools in Portland Public, one of which Emily Newton supports an alternative program. And also this year for me, I have some new classes that have been added that are SES classes as well. So we are supporting a wide range of students in comprehensive high schools, and it's at times it's challenging to go between two schools in the span of a week. But I think the one thing that I want to share that's been the biggest driving force these last couple of years in engaging students to get them to work-based learning or other competitive integrated employment is the collaboration. We all try to be very collaborative with school-based career coordinators, and we have developed a wonderful partnership with our CTE district department. And we were in the wrong link. So I talked about this to all the YTP specialists in the other room, but what I talked about was PPS Partner Connect. So a couple years ago, right before Peter and Patty retired, we had a wonderful meeting with Jay Cooter, Jane Osborne, and a couple other members from the CTE district office. And what we found was that PPS already had a wonderful pre-eds work-based learning treasure trove of opportunities that they were already connected to over 600 employers around Portland Metro. And that all career coordinators across the district had opportunity and access to this wonderful website. And we as YTP, they call us YTP career coordinators in PPS, we did not have access. So when we have this meeting, employers go on this PPS Partner Connect, you can all Google it. They can create a profile of what they are willing to offer as a business. That ranges from a volunteer opportunity, apprenticeships, career panels, speakers, informational interviews, and other work-based learning opportunities. So this last 3 years, we have been building the YTP presence on PPS Partner Connect. And I'm really excited about this collaborative relationship that has been the most fruitful for us, because as of last check, we have over 70 employers that are wanting to have a YTP representative come to their business to know more about YTP. And we haven't, we've been tapping into it, but we need to do better. But what we have experienced from this platform is connecting our students to a wide range of opportunities. And like I said, so it ranges depending on their interest, and how that collaborative effort is also opened up for all three of us more opportunities to do work with our school-based career coordinators, which we have been offering, and we've been working with them to offer sessions to incorporate more students with disabilities in various, we call them transition and work readiness sessions. And each of our career coordinators have been working with us to modify different sessions and content based upon students that we may have coming to these sessions. So, and then it gives us an opportunity to learn more about students' interest. We can do transition assessments, we can do verbal assessments, and just really getting to know our students, and also offering them and letting them know that we, between the two of us, the career coordinator and also their YTP specialist, the opportunities that they have before them, that no matter what their interest is or what they want to try, this PPS Partner Connect is there for them, that we can tap into to get them experience, to get them a volunteer experience, or to help them boost their resume. And this past summer, we used this PPS Partner Connect for our RFA community experiences that we had. So it has really, really just been, I think, extremely helpful in engaging students, but to also building these collaborative relationships, right? Because every high school here in PPS has a school-based career coordinator. And so getting to know them getting to know us and how we support them, it's really been a beautiful relationship. So that our students, because they serve the same students too, we just serve them also in a different way. And from that collaborative relationship, the last thing I do want to mention is that our YTP team worked with a few PPS career coordinators over the summer to make some modifications to what they're going to be calling the Oregon employability skills. So we modified 5 of the basic soft skills, and we did that in collaboration with the CTE department and a few career coordinators, but it all stemmed from the start of this meeting that we had a few years ago, like I said, before Peter and Patty left. And so we've just been building on these relationships within that's already in the school. We just needed, as YTP folks, to tap into that and to make them feel comfortable to share, and that we can work together to be very holistic, right? And how we service our students. So that's how we've been engaging. in our various sites, and making sure that we give our students the best access to work-based learning and just getting them more experience to get them prepared for life after high school.
Wow. Thank you. That was excellent. And, we started with Chelsea talking about all the community. What I heard is a lot of community connections out in the community, working with businesses. So it starts in the school, right? We start at, and just using what is going on in your school. So when we think about it, what's going on in your school, what's going on in the class, the community. And so I just was so impressed with with what's going on in these YTP programs and how you really are connecting kids with the community and getting them out in the community, and how important it is that you're aware of what your sequence is and you're building on it, right? And so this little worksheet, Garrett helped me make it, and I think it was Charlotte's idea to start. So here we're building on each other's skills too to make this little form, and I have a little assignment for you guys. I won't call it homework. I looked up in the dictionary synonyms for homework because nobody likes homework, but a task or an assignment, now that's not so bad. And so thinking about your YTP program, it would be great for each of you, and we're going to put a copy of this in the chat, to take this with you, print it out, and think about how are you working in the classroom with students, with teachers, with other staff? How are you working in the school with teachers, CTE, careers? Portland Public is a big school, and not all the small schools have career centers or have many of the resources that Portland Public, but everybody has counselors, right? Everybody has certain things. Figure out what those are in your school and how are you working with them. And then where are you in the community? Where are you supporting kids? Where are you putting them independently? So this is a little sheet for you, and it's a little assignment for everyone to take, to print out and do a little bit of, I don't want to say homework because that's a bad word, but I think it's an assignment, it's a task. And I think it would be fun to do. And also to think about, are there places that, you want to check off that you're not really working with in your program? And what are those places? And to set some, goals for yourself around the sequence that you're doing with students. And assignment, see, and I'm sorry about, I really did change that slide and fix the spelling of your name and Joshua's name, Kia and Joshua, and somehow I picked up an old slideshow. So I did notice that I misspelled your name. I'm really sorry I didn't fix it. So your assignment is to complete the sequence of work-based learning opportunities that is in the chat, and I think we'll also have it posted on our website. And do people have any questions, thoughts, ideas?
Charlotte has her hand raised.
Hey, Terry, you pinged some really great sites today. So thank you for working with those sites, and to the co-presenters, thank you so much for sharing your time. My question, your time and expertise. My question is with regard to the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do with that information?
I think what would be really nice is to have each site take that, fill it out with your team, and then when you do a meeting with your TAP, to just talk about it, to look at it together and talk about what's your YTP team do? What's your process? Where are you at? So those are my thoughts on that. Other TAPs, what do you think about the assignment?
I think you summarized that really well, Terry. Good job.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. People that have, if you're by yourself, kind of putting that together maybe with your administrator to start looking forward, your VR counselor of ideas, and those of you that have a bigger team with more transition specialists. Next time you sit down, really talk about it. I think a lot can come from those group brainstorms, and get kind of the juices flowing on different ideas.
Someone said,
How-
I'd-
Yeah. You go, sorry.
someone said, I'd like to use it to create a SMART goal. And that's good. I think it's also a great idea for your team to do it together. So number one, a lot of times we feel like other people don't know what we're doing, or it takes a village in a YTP program. And the more we know about what each other is doing and where we need support, the better our team's going to operate. So those are my thoughts. Anybody else?
He has her hand up.
Amy, you have your hand up. What would you like to add?
So first question, what is a SMART goal?
Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely. So it's a way to think about goal setting. So after you do your brainstorming, what's one small thing that we can work towards?
Specific, measurable, attainable,
Realistic, timely.
Okay.
You can Google SMART goals. There's
Oh.
other translations of what the different letters stand for, but that's the gist.
Okay, cool. And then also I saw the suggestion, Mary Jo, you had said working with your local chamber of commerce is a great resource. Will you be more specific on that? Do you mean like go to meetings, or what do you mean by that?
Well, this is going back to when actually I was a school career coordinator and in Springfield schools. And the first thing I did was sent a letter. This is back in 2000, maybe before that. And I sent a letter to every single person in the Springfield Chamber of Commerce asking them, would you come into this? And this was, remember, it wasn't for YTP, it was for school to work, but would you be open to a student coming in job shadow? Would you be open to a student coming in doing an internship? Would you come speak to the classes at the school? And I got so many amazing positive responses from that, of community members who really did want to help. And it was great. I knew people who worked at the Chamber of Commerce, so they just gave me the list, and then I sent out the letters to 600, 700 members in the community.
Wow, that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, and then I ended up getting on the Chamber Education Committee. So I was part of the Chamber Education Committee and went to monthly meetings with the mayor and the, different people from around the community. So it was great. It was a great way to get to know people in the community. Becky has her hand up.
Becky.
Hi, everyone. How's it going?
Good.
So last spring, I think it's the American, the research organization hosted a policy panel on the purchasing power of individuals who experience a disability. And it was in April, and I can send a link to Jesse. It was really a fascinating presentation. And an author spoke. His name is Steve Pemberton. He's just released his second book, which is called The Lighthouse Effect. And chapter 2 is the employment journey of RJ Peet. And it is the most beautiful chapter on transition that I have ever read. It is just amazing. And the book is released here in the next couple of like I got an early copy somehow, thanks to Amazon, I'm not sure. But I think particularly if I had had a chance to read that chapter as a new employee in transition, I feel like I would have really grasped this role in a much different way. And so I just wanted to make sure that other people had the opportunity to read the book. Steve Pemberton was the chief diversity officer for Walgreens years ago, when they brought in some advertising that had a young woman who experienced Down syndrome. And it was just a Happy Easter ad. And it was one of the very few first ads in the country that was just based on just an integrative approach to advertising. So he's kind of a disability rights ally in my book. But if you have a chance, great book. So
Becky, would you drop that title in the chat, please?
yes, it's super long. So I'll give you the shortened version, but amazing chapter on transition. And I just wish I'd had a chance to read it when I was new in the field. So would really like to encourage folks to read it.
Or the author's name at least?
Yeah, the author and something. People will, yes, thank you for that. Thank you. Anybody else want to share anything? Well, we're done a little early, so you can start your homework. I mean, anyway, it's been really nice to see you all and to be here with you. And everybody, thanks for sharing, especially our 3 programs across the state. And every time I listen to what other people are doing, I'm always wowed and impressed. And so continue doing that. It's the beginning of a new biennium. And so we're thinking competitive integrated employment and getting our kids out in the community. So let's have fun doing it. And thanks for being here, you all.
Will that form be available on the YTP website? Because some of us are on a laptop at home, not being able to access that and be able to access that on our regular computer from school. So it's kind of tricky to be able to transfer that back and forth. So is that going to be available to download from the website?
Yes, that will be there. And, you know, I can mail it to a transition specialist too, if they especially need it. But just like where you go to resources, you click on resources and it should be right there. Is that where it will be, Garrett?
Yes.
Okay.
It
yes.
is also, if you hurry up and look it up today, it's under today's COP under the events list on the homepage at the very bottom. So it's linked in there.
Oh, it is. Okay. Thanks for doing that. Okay, it's there now. Wow. Okay, well, thanks everyone. Good job. Keep it up. Nice to see you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.